listening to Pop This, the podcast where three women talk about pop culture. Here are your hosts, Lisa Christiansen, Andrea Gin, and Andrea Warner.
So this being scary movie season, scary all things season, I came across a list that just came out last week in the blog Mental Floss, and it's the 25 scariest movies ever made according to science. And what the science is that they get people, they've done this for 3 years in a row now, they get 250 participants to watch 30 movies while hooked up to heart rate monitors in order to assess how pulse pounding each film actually was. And I have the list. I have the top scariest movies. Now, this is all like according to how your heart rate moves.
Sure.
And I have to say, I have seen a lot of scary movies, but their number one scariest movie, and I don't know if we're interested in trying to do this one at some point, but it's called Host. And it's from 2020. Does anyone remember this movie?
I remember the title, but I don't think I've seen it.
I haven't seen it.
It was made during the pandemic, so it's all over Zoom.
Oh.
Which is actually, when I watched the trailer for it, it's very easy to do scary because here's the one thing. Like, we all can see each other here. I can see what's behind you, but you can't.
Yeah, I've actually watched like a few like cozy murders where the murder has happened like while people are in video chats, and obviously like these are ones that are typically filmed during the pandemic as well. But I do remember it being like, you know, when like people were trying to like make us all scared about chatting online back in like, I don't know, like kind of like thinking about that Sandra Bullock, The Net movie where you're just like, you don't know who you're talking or whatever. Yeah. And then when video cams got involved and stuff like that, and it was just always like, yeah, you can't see what's coming up behind you unless like you just like, I can see what's behind me because I'm watching all four of us at the same time.
Well, that's true. Yeah. Yeah.
But I think it didn't used to be kind of an option.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah. And so we can like, you can see what's coming up behind me, but I can't see it, right? Sort of. Well, no,
you're not watching yourself?
Well, no, I'm watching you, and then I might peek up, but you'd probably see it first, right?
But hold on, is that the premise of the movie? Is just like people on Zoom calls seeing things in the backgrounds of other people's things? Like,
see now, you of little faith. That is. I think if we reduced everything down to like every horror movie, you mean like a girl's babysitting and there's a guy next door? I mean, you know. Like,
but when that happens once, it's like, okay, that's scary. So
it's
like,
only an hour long. The movie's only an hour long.
The movie's not even a full length feature. It's like basically a long short.
Everyone gets killed instantly. They can't see who's coming up behind them, and they just all die.
Well, but I mean, if it's the number one and they did science to prove it, like there's got to be some legitimate scares.
Well, that's the whole thing, right?
I mean, people's blood pressure could just rise when they see anything related to Zoom because it's
at this point it's now like I guess at this point it's a bit of a trauma response. But this is like such fun timing because I have just written a piece. I interviewed the writer of Wired for Music, Adriana Barton. It's this wonderful book about sort of like how our brains react to sound. And so I interviewed her for a piece for CBC Music about the sound of fear and like how our brains process scary sounds. And it was fascinating because I am a real scaredy cat about horror films and thrillers and stuff like that. Like I can't really handle them. The only way that I've ever, the way that I actually started to end up reviewing movies was because I was taking like a film writing course or whatever at university in my mid-20s, and they were making us watch The Shining together in the classroom, and I was freaking out because I was like, how am I going to watch this movie in front of strangers? Like I cannot do this. Like I was really just panicked. And the way that I got myself through it was I just wrote about what was making me afraid throughout the whole film. So I ended up with like 30 pages of notes about the score.
Wow,
Because it was the score. It wasn't anything else. Like, I mean, obviously other stuff in the film was like bothering me. But once I really zeroed in on it, I realized it was absolutely the score that was freaking me out. And so since then, I've been kind of fascinated by it. And like, I'm not pivoting us to the movie that we're going to talk about quite yet, but one of my strategies so sometimes what I have to do if I have to watch a scary movie, I have to find out what the like gotchas are before I watch it. And that's a way that I can sort of manage my stress response. This one, I was so strongly encouraged to not do that and like just go in without that, because I watch everything with subtitles. I just turned off the sound when I got tired of holding my hands over my ears. And that really helped. And then once I could like eventually feel okay, I could turn the sound back on. And that really, like, honestly, what a little gift to myself. At least like thankfully Carlos had seen the movie before, so it wasn't totally unhinged as a viewing experience for him. But
I was gonna say,
for a long time I tried just to cover my ears, but my arms were getting so tired. So
but that's
I had to just...
one of the reasons Alfred Hitchcock didn't like to put music in his movies. Because
and yet that Psycho scene is like...
he got convinced to do the Psycho, even though he didn't want music, because he said it always makes for cheap scares. The music.
I think he integrated well and sort of learned a lesson about like the effectiveness of a very specific sound cue.
True, because so many of the greatest horror movies have that iconic sound. Like when I think of Friday the 13th, I always do that. And that's in the movie, that's the sound that's always being used. And then in all the John Carpenter movies, he makes the music himself.
I was just going to say.
Yeah,
those really synthy scores, and they don't have any real cheap, music stings that are supposed to frighten you. They just have this lingering dread, this sort of weird, sort of almost ambient synthy drone that kind of adds, it adds a lot to it. The movie that we're talking about today has a lot of that. It's got this very sort of synthy thing happening in a lot of scenes.
Yeah, but like, what would the jump scares in Jaws be without the music?
Right?
For sure.
Yeah, that's true.
No, yeah, that's one of the biggest ones, and that's just like 2 notes basically. But the way that they anyway, it was just like a fascinating time to think about like how and I do think my conversation with Adriana like helped me better handle watching this movie. So like maybe I'll be able to watch more scary movies now. I'm Andrea Warner.
I'm Lisa Christiansen.
I'm Andrea Gin.
Oh, and I'm Don English.
Yay!
Welcome,
Wow.
Don.
Oh man, I didn't know you were going to throw to me. This is so exciting.
Sorry, I normally tell people, and I apparently forgot.
Hey.
You're listening to Pop This, and we're so excited. We have Don English returning. Thank you so much, Don. A real big difference, I think, between normally you talk to us about noir films, and this is not noir.
No, not even close. But it's great. I also really I love horror movies. So this is I'm ready to roll.
Okay, good. Thank you. This one highly recommended by Lisa. We are talking about Barbarian. Truly a movie I would never planned on seeing.
Me neither. Yeah. I don't watch horror movies. Don't like them. It's just, this is after I've been made now to watch several of the Screams. Like, I don't know how many I've seen. Maybe
you haven't seen
3.
enough of them, by the way, but you've seen some.
But like, aside from that, this is the only other horror movie I've seen.
Wow.
I really thought you did Hereditary with us.
I didn't know. I did.
Okay.
I've seen The Shining several times, but
okay.
That doesn't. I don't know. That doesn't seem as terrible.
I never think. I mean, I know The Shining is considered. I don't know. It's not. It doesn't really make me think of a horror movie. It makes me think of a movie that has scary bits to it, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on that.
The Shining terrifies me, but I think it's because I find the ways in which Jack Nicholson very convincingly teases out the worst qualities of the angriest man you've ever known, and then like poor Shelley Duvall is left to have to just run and scream and flail and as if and the camera seems to sort of be mocking her, like, but it's because it's like through his eyes. It's I find it extremely terrifying, but I think I'm watching it from honestly though, like in the same way that I find this extremely terrifying. Like both of these movies for me are real like justice for women movies. I can't get away from it. But God, this you guys, this is so good.
Yeah, it's I have a couple of people in my life who are just like diehard sort of film people, but like horror people. And yeah, my friend Shay texted me. It was like, "Have you seen Barbarian yet? Don't read a thing about it. Just watch it." And she's one of those people that if they're like, "You have to drop everything and watch this movie," you drop everything and watch it. So yeah, it came highly recommended. It did not disappoint.
Yeah, I could not love this more. I'm interested to get into whether AG liked it or not, but first maybe we should like introduce our guest, read some background, do a little synopsis. I'm gonna read a bio. I'm gonna take that one on. Don English is a writer and legal aid worker living in the unceded territories of the Coast Salish people. His writing has been published in Poetry is Dead, Medium, The Vancouver Courier, and in Akashic Books' Vancouver Noir Anthology. Watching scary movies as a child turned out to be a good primer for the adult horrors of working in the criminal justice system. Bleak, my friend, but very real.
I can reliably bring the bleak. Everyone knows.
Yeah. Oh boy, yeah. Lisa, do you want to read the background?
Sure. Barbarian is a 2022 American horror thriller film written and directed by Zach Kreger in his solo screenwriting and directorial debut. It is produced by Arnon Milchan, Roy Lee, Raphael Margolis, and J.D. Lifshitz. The film stars Georgina Campbell, Bill Skarsgård, and Justin Long. Barbarian premiered at San Diego Comic-Con on July 22nd, 2022, and was theatrically released in the United States on September 9th, 2022 by 20th Century Studios. The film received largely positive reviews with praise for Krieger's screenplay and direction, as well as the cast performances. The film grossed over $45 million worldwide on a production budget of $4 to $5 million.
Incredible. That's a huge hit.
Yeah.
Especially in a pandemic. Like, people were barely in theaters at that point.
It seems it went to streaming pretty quick because I saw it last Halloween. Streaming is what at home. So
I feel like a lot of people
I did not see it in the theater.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of films have gone to streaming pretty quick. So I mean, again, that budget or like that gross on streaming, extra incredible. Like,
do you think it would have been more terrifying to see it in the theater? Probably.
Oh
Probably.
My God, yes.
I can't even imagine.
No, you can't pause it. You can't do anything. You just got to sit there. No, that's
I'm not
a lot.
doing that.
AG, do you want to read the synopsis?
Sure. It's late, and Tess is arriving to her Detroit Airbnb in the middle of a rainstorm, only to find that there's someone already in it. Tess is stuck with Keith, who is being disarmingly nice about it all, and after realizing that other options aren't possible for the night, a convention is in town and hotel rooms have all been snapped up, she reluctantly agrees to stay. That is from Benjamin Lee in The Guardian. And yes, this is not a great ad for Airbnb. Not great. I mean, yeah.
I mean, it's perfect as like the horrors of capitalism, like that, we've and late stage capitalism. So that's great. Gentrification, all that kind of stuff. But I already, for the most part, never rent an Airbnb because I feel extremely uncomfortable.
I don't like it either. I don't like staying. I like hotels.
Me too.
Yeah.
They're built for the purpose of travelers staying there. I like having like amenities, like people around. Like it's
24-hour room service, which I've never used, but yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I also just want to say, like, for anyone, something Dawn just said, like, your friend said, drop everything, go see this now, don't read anything about it. I think we should just give, tell everyone now, like, what was so great about that synopsis there is it didn't say very much about the movie, really. And that is partially the big part of the fun of this film is the places it takes you that you're not expecting.
It takes some wild turns.
Yeah.
It absolutely does. And we're going to spoil most of them because that's what we do. So if you are listening and you want to see this movie before we ruin it for you, please. Or even if you think you don't want to see it, let me just tell you, one of the biggest scaredy cats when it comes to horror films, could not endorse this more. This is a brilliant movie and I love it.
But also very horrifying.
Absolutely horrifying. Absolutely. But just like not in all the ways that you might think it is. And yet also in all the ways you think it is. So,
and just another spoiler. If you're one of those people that's held out some kind of crush on Justin Ling, well, it's over.
Justin Long.
Justin Long. Who's Justin Ling? Oh, he's a writer for the Globe and Mail. Sorry.
He's a writer, yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Which, honestly, Justin Ling, also an attractive man.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah. Sorry, Justin Ling. That was not meant for you. You're probably a very nice man. Justin Long, on the other hand, wow, what a decision to take on this role.
This is the best he's ever been in anything.
Yeah.
He's ever he is phenomenal in this role. And it's so, I mean, honestly, Georgina Campbell, that like, what a revelation. And Bill Skarsgård, look, those Skarsgårds got it going on.
They can do anything.
Yeah. I mean,
and when I found out that was Pennywise, I was laughing so hard.
Well,
there's something about the look of that family that it's just screams scary person, I guess.
It's cast. He's cast so well because it really plays with this expectation of everyone is expecting him to be this villainous character, and they really stretch out the suspense of whether he is or not for a lot of that because people are expecting him to suddenly change shape or try to murder somebody.
For sure, those cheekbones cut me across my throat.
If you weren't frightened enough by, I guess it's his brother, other Skarsgård in Big Little Lies.
Alexander?
Alexander Skarsgård, yeah.
Just, if you're here for the terror of the Skarsgård family, this is just another story to add.
Yeah, so AG, I know, like, I think the other three, us three have all said we really enjoyed this movie. How did you feel about it?
I can't say I enjoyed it. I can understand why it's considered smart, interesting, unusual horror because it does grapple with it touches upon various like kind of social issues, and it kind of has like a reset in the middle of the movie that is unexpected and tells a totally different story. So I can see how this is really interesting storytelling. But I'm like, unlike Andrea Warner, I'm not like, the sound is not what scares me. It's the horrifying images that scare me.
Fair enough.
From a horror movie. And so I don't enjoy watching this kind of thing. And I wouldn't say I enjoyed this, but I do understand why it's a good horror movie.
Cool. That makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah, it turns out if I can just watch all horror movies with no sound the first time through and just subtitles, I'm golden. This is going to change my film history appreciation. So I'm pretty excited.
I'm happy for you.
Just start with the silent horror films of the 20s and work your way up. Just slowly build up a tolerance.
Yeah.
Great suggestion, Dawn. I think also like partly like Now you guys know that I tend to read or consume too much true crime stuff and cozy mysteries and stuff like that. All of you know this about me. And one of my least favorite true stories are the stories where you find like people have discovered that someone is living in their walls
Oh yes,
or
yeah.
living in their crawl spaces
Mhm.
or living in their attics or
I
somewhere.
hate that.
So-
that.
This, wow.
Okay, hold on. Just sidebar? Did everybody after watching this movie like go around and lock all the windows in their house? Just,
Always,
check everything was like super closed.
However, that wouldn't really help you because they're in the house. So
No, well, I was thinking about when they go back in time and
The 70s.
oh yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
That's a chilling scene too.
Oh
Yeah,
my
it's,
God, it's so chilling.
Yeah.
You know what's
It's,
also chilling is to look at some of these reviews and see that people are like, yeah, I mean, we don't really know why they call it Barbarian. Are you kidding me? Men are barbarians. That's what this movie is. My God. Toxic masculinity, barbarian. Like, how? I want to send all of these people who said, yeah, we don't really get the title, who are actual film reviewers. I'd love to send them just small little books. I would send them a copy of Vivek Shreya's brilliant I'm Afraid of Men, because I feel like that's what they need to read. They don't understand.
Isn't it also a bit of a play on the address of the house too? Wasn't
Barbary,
the name
469
Yeah,
Barbary.
yeah. I'm just
and
Yeah.
apparently a
Spitballing there.
happy accident. There was the interview with the director and screenwriter that was a placeholder name while he was writing the script, and he was going to change it, but he couldn't think of something different. And as he was writing it, he was like, "Oh no, it turns out like this is an appropriate thing." But he just picked Barbarian because he couldn't call it "Don't Go in the Basement" or something.
Without giving too much away.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, like, Dawn, why do you love horror movies?
I want to write a horror called Don't Go in the
Don't go-
Basement.
But it's just
It's, like,
entirely
great,
only
kinda.
about like lofts. And like there are no basements. Like it's just a real play on Architectural Digest.
It's just about the horrors of the clutter in your basement.
I mean the basement in this movie is really freaky, but not very cluttered. So it has that
No.
going
Yeah.
for it. It's
Yeah.
a creepy murder basement, but
Until you get to the sick bedroom, then it's pretty
That's-
gross.
yes.
Yeah.
I like
anyway,
horror movies
yeah.
because I just kind of grew up with them. Like that joke in my bio is true. Like I it's the classic like latchkey Gen X kid thing of watching like Universal horror monsters, in late night movies on television. The fact that there was no oversight at the video stores, unless you tried to go into the adults only section at the back.
Yeah.
If you brought Texas Chainsaw Massacre to the people at the desk, they weren't going to go like, "Aren't you only 14?"
Yeah, actually, if you wanted to see boobs, probably at that time, like, and you couldn't rent the adult stuff, you could rent horror movies, and you could definitely get it like just eyes full of boobs.
Which is I think was sort of like a big selling point, probably. Although that's really sad.
How'd you feel about these eyes full of boobs?
Well, yeah.
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 So I just bonded to it early, and yeah, I like horror movies a lot. They're fun.
What are your top 3 horrors?
I've seen The Exorcist a lot.
It's great.
I had a friend who was in film school in the 90s who was similarly obsessed. And so while she was like writing about it and stuff, we watched that movie. Like I've seen that movie 40, 50 times.
Wow.
Just to take it apart and like that scene. That's a movie that like won an Oscar for its sound design. Like there's so much in that like sounds really terrifying on top of all of the visuals.
It's also such excellent Catholic propaganda. Like, I bet so many people went just screaming into the church after seeing The Exorcist.
It is the Top Gun of Catholicism.
Truly.
It's so that one is like really huge. I really like the original like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I think really good. All of the like Romero zombie movies, those like rate really high.
That's great.
Nice.
I've never seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I have a real this sounds like I'm a real rarity in this case, but I know that I'm not. I don't like it when people like sew like other people's skin together into a little costume. I
Are
find
you
that,
talking about Silence of the Lambs?
well, that too, but isn't that part of Texas Chainsaw Massacre? They're like, doesn't he wear like a skin mask?
He does, although you don't see Leatherface make
No.
it.
No.
No, but I just in general, like as a principle, the idea of wearing other people's skin, like I've made that joke that I want to do that for people I love, but like I don't actually. And it really freaks me out and it makes me gross.
If you watch that movie though, and I've seen it a couple of times, but I read a theory that it's actually about men being displaced by machines. It's a different movie then.
Yeah.
I mean, there are different ways to take that, and I would say this family took it to an extreme.
Murder and cannibalism. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, are you saying butchering and cannibalism not cool?
Yeah, but
there are other
isn't-
responses.
There are other responses. There's like political action. There's all kinds of letter writing campaigns. There's
Start
lots
with
of
a
ways you
leaflet
can do it.
campaign and work your way up to cannibalism.
Yeah,
You know what?
like
That's
write your
great
MP.
advice.
Write your MP.
Right?
But if your MP doesn't get on it,
Invite him over for dinner.
Oh wow! Incredible!
Eat the rich.
Can you imagine? Oh my god! Oh boy! And suddenly we're canceled. Not by anybody listening to us, just by anybody who perhaps is listening to this for political content. On a scale of 1 to 10, how frightening do you find this movie? All of you.
I'm going to give it a good solid 8.
Yeah, me too.
I think I'm pretty desensitized. I would give it a 6. It's incredibly tense. Like I find that the movie is, because it sets up these fairly long scenes of people sort of wandering into danger and you have no idea what's coming next. It's this incredible sort of like tension that builds, and then when the scare comes, you're almost relieved because it's over.
Yeah.
Like the violent thing that you were afraid was going to happen has now happened, so you can I mean, I guess relax is probably the wrong word to choose. But it's, you start off with that tension, and then it sort of like is released, and then it starts to kind of build up again. The movie's really good at that.
Yeah, I think I probably also have to give it like an 8.5, especially given that I had to watch it with either my hands over my ears or the sound off for a substantial part of it. But I was so also just like, okay, I know I'm going to just skip right to the end for a second, but like I was ridiculously moved when the creature, and I don't like to call her a creature because like she's obviously like a just like horribly sort of mistreated woman. But like I was so moved when she's like tenderly holding Tess and calling her baby. I honestly was just like, oh God, these poor women. They've been through so much. And yet she also just really like needs to be like sort of rescued right back. Oh my God. I honestly, I teared up, and I did not anticipate that in this film. I was like, what is happening? How is this movie doing this? But so effectively. But I just like, I couldn't like, there's so much horrific stuff that is hinted at and inferred and has gone on. And also just all of these other sort of like these like degrees of monstrous behavior on the parts of these like different men in the film. And like even Skarsgård, who like it turns out is like probably not like, a full on kind of monster at all. Like he still won't listen to Tess. He has to go see for himself. He has to prove it to himself that he has to, and I understand that that's like a function of the movie or whatever, but like it's also just like a function of sort of like the kind of like angel investor tech bro VCC funder dude like sort of mentality that like is kind of displeasing. And I don't know. And then like Justin Long's character, who is so monstrous, and Frank, who is so monstrous. I don't know. I really had a lot of affection for the creature.
Well, and I
I
think
mean, the movie could be
what
called, Don't Go in the Basement, or just it could be called Surrounded by Red Flags. Like she's just
yeah.
every man that she encounters is questionable to some degree.
Well, I was just gonna say something similar, but like as a a woman who's traveled alone, like this whole movie is set up to like at every turn, like she's making these decisions that are like wrong, nope. Like, it's like from the minute that she decides to go in that house, like every woman watching it is like, no, don't do that. Just like right from minute one, like just I don't care. Like drive 50 miles to the next town. Just like that's what has to happen. Like you should not go in there. And like, but then like it just keeps happening. It's like, no, you shouldn't drink any of that wine. Nope, shouldn't go in the basement. And nope, you shouldn't, like when you go for your meeting the next day, should have just left.
She clearly smashed that interview too. Like really,
Yeah.
like, you're gonna get that job.
Yeah, just
But
go,
there was
go.
there was
Drive
one good
away.
man in this movie. There was a good man in this movie.
Oh, the wonderful guy that rescued her.
The homeless man. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, well, and I thought about that too, though. Like I thought about like sort of in general, like, is he good? And I think ultimately, obviously, like, yes, because he rescues her and right away he gets murdered for his efforts because he has apparently lived down the block for 16 years and she hasn't come into his space. But also that means that he has watched people be murdered for 16 years and knows there's bad stuff in the basement. And obviously, like, yeah, like who's he going to tell? Who's going to believe him? We see the uselessness of the law enforcement people and how they don't care. And especially on that side of town. And like, they're just the assumptions that they've made about that neighborhood and that part of Detroit and stuff like that. So like, I think there is something happening, like, maybe that I am like, even though like I've read lots of things about sort of Detroit and the gentrification and like the bad sides to it and the good sides and stuff like that and the hardship, like I feel like I haven't seen a lot of stuff that's like set anywhere there, like, you know what I mean? Like personally, I haven't seen
It
like, a lot of
follows.
films
It follows was set in Detroit for the very same reason.
Oh, we watched that. So
Yeah.
I've seen that,
Yeah.
but like I don't know.
But
I didn't clock necessarily that Detroit was like a big part of it for some reason.
And It Follows also kind of exists, not to start talking about another movie now, but it almost exists in that weird liminal space where it's, she's got that weird handheld device that kind of looks like a Palm Pilot, but they watch a lot of like manual stuff on tape. Like this is, I think, really trying to reflect, that neighborhood sort of as it is. Which I think makes it look really cool. It's got when Tess first steps out of the house to go to the interview and sees what the neighborhood looks like. When she first pulls in and you realize that only the house that she'll be staying in is lit and everything else is just black. It's got like a reverse haunted house vibe to it. That like the entire 4 blocks surrounding that house look haunted. And then you've got this one pristine, sort of like 50, 60-year-old house that's sitting there. The lawn is still cut, but is such a horrific place. It's a cool comparison. I really like that.
Also, yeah, that the house is owned by some, ass in LA. That's another thing that people have been experiencing around the world.
Yeah, like just this guy who buys it as an investment property and then has like this, my God, the person who's Bonnie, the unseen Bonnie, just doing a toilet job managing this property. And oh my God, incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Just like wonder about Bonnie's reckoning after all of this happens. Like,
I feel like Bonnie has never set foot in this home at all and never would. She's just like, I don't go to that side of town. In the same way that the documentary maker was like, you can't stay in that neighborhood. You got to get out of that
exactly.
neighborhood.
Yeah.
Like just
Yeah,
this.
like another point at which is like, why don't you listen to the smart documentary maker?
But I mean, Tess,
Local.
yeah, but Tess makes some very like the film watches her make some very like smart choices. You know, she locks the door when she goes into the bedroom. She locks the door. Like she won't take the wine at first. She won't take the tea. Like, and we see how circumstance sort of like breaks down her will on a lot of these things, or like at least lowers her guard, because she can't. I also think being on that level of like sort of watching out for yourself all the time is, I mean, a lot of us know that it's exhausting, you know, like it's, and you look for reasons to sort of like trust a situation a little bit more. But just the idea when she says that she has to go back and rescue Justin Long's character with everything that we know about Justin Long.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, that performance that he throws in, like when you start to believe that maybe he understands, like his own violation is now how he can understand what he has done. And you just sort of, you're like all of us are kind of always looking for some way to believe in redemption. And then as soon as he gets the chance, he just tosses her off a tower. And the creature, like, you know, the creature saves her and ensures that she falls on top of her so that she's not, you know, killed. And he immediately, oh my God, when the creature finally just like takes her hands and just
puts her in his eyes,
does her squishies.
Yeah.
I was
See, I did not see. It's the visuals.
Oh, the
It's
visuals disgusting. The visuals disgusting. But like, I gotta say, like, I can't fault the creature.
It also, I mean, the other thing I think I liked about the movie too, it is like a good horror movie has that tension release. But what I thought that the director chose, and because he wrote it as well, to spend so much time on Justin Long's character, like seeing him with his wealth manager, seeing him at the bar going, yeah, at first she wasn't really into it, but you know, I don't give up. Like the way he was talking, and then seeing the phone call he made to her when he was drunk, and like just spending so much time setting this person up. I thought that was really brilliant.
And that horrible conversation with his mom where he's back in town, but he hasn't told her. Mm-hmm. And she's like, you know, you could, you know, we're in Detroit's only 4 hours away. And that horrible, that terrible, but very telling line about his dad. Dad said that. It's sort of like, oh God, just sort of like this, whiny dude with daddy issues. And
oh, I know.
Oh my God. I really have never seen anything quite like it from him. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't know he had it in him.
Yeah.
But just even also the you know, the reason that Tess was in Detroit, meeting a guy who had seen this documentary, was part of this group. I mean, all of that writing was so good.
It was so good. And the performances feel extremely natural. Like Georgina Campbell, like she's brilliant. Just like her face can go from like haunted and creeped out to like relaxed and almost flirty in like the space of seconds. And it's a real pleasure to sort of watch her interact with this guy who, like, you know, that he's okay, but he has too many things where he's just like, yeah, I totally understand why I didn't want to open the wine just in case, like I don't know, there's too many things about that guy.
He's overcompensating for sure.
Yeah. And there's a lot of that line delivery where she's talking about how she had her heart ripped out, and his line of, you know, women can rip. I'm like, stop.
I know.
I
know. Like, maybe just listen to her. Like, maybe it's okay to like, or just like immediately he went into like problem solving mode, which is also like very much, of course, that's what he do. He buys up neighborhoods and then like turns them into sort of like adult paradises or whatever. But like, so he's not going to have a lot of care for like, you know, actually like getting to the root of a problem. But he's just like, are you going to let this guy like control your life or whatever. And just like, I don't know, that's a fast conversation to have from like showing up in the middle of the night, soaking wet, booked into the same Airbnb, to like 2 hours later just telling this woman like that she's just doing life wrong.
Yeah.
He almost tips over into that milady sort of chivalry thing about not wanting to, don't go outside because it's dark, it's not safe and stuff. Yeah.
He won't let her go get her own suitcases.
Well, that actually is probably.
He has seen the neighborhood.
He has, yeah.
She has at this point has not.
Yeah. The woman said that the director says don't go out in that neighborhood. So yeah, I'm gonna give him that one.
All right, fine. I just like none of it. I didn't know where any of it was gonna go, and I mean, and I will say, like, this movie has a significant amount, like, it references, a lot of sexual violence. So I think that is very hard, and that's one of the things that's like very difficult about going into a movie like this without knowing any information. Is like I kind of want it. Like I wanted to know it, but I also wanted but I was grateful that it does not depict acts of sexual violence. I was very grateful for that. Because those, I just don't, I can't handle those movies anymore. It's just not my thing. I also found it extremely funny that his automatic reaction to a obvious murder basement or torture room, is to get out the tape measure.
Oh yeah.
Measure everything.
Yes.
Then go back upstairs and Google if the square footage would count.
Yeah.
And learn. I didn't know GLA stood for gross living area, and now I do. And then to go back downstairs and for him to get so extra excited about all the other torture dungeons and just keep using that tape measure. I laughed so hard because he's so awful. And of course, that's the only thing he cares about. Like, this guy, I guess because he's only made of red flags, he can't notice any around him. So, like, that's maybe what happens. But, like, oh my God.
And incredibly optimistic. Incredibly optimistic. It doesn't matter how many pastels you were to paint that if you were to sell it. It's only going to look like a murder basement.
Yeah.
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 I just think that is like within that horror genre, within the genre of horror, that's what makes certain films stand out. I think is that attention to the detail, those little things that really stand out. Because I mean, it's easy just to make like, I haven't seen this movie Host. That was the scariest movie with Zoom and all that. And that, I mean, I'm not saying it's not scary. I'm just saying there's probably a reason why it's not going to make it to the top of the list of critics' choices or something.
Yeah, they had to have scientists declare it number one.
But it's also like the parallel between what Tess has to be afraid of when she enters that house and like thinking about going into the basement compared to AJ. Like, the fear, like there's no fear on AJ's mind at all about going into an unknown basement or like seeing somebody's stuff in the house. Like it's just like, that's sort of the brilliance of that character, is that it just depicts this type of man that just like can walk through the world with no fear about anything.
Yeah, like he just has a tiny little knife and a flashlight, and he's like full of bluster and threats, and just like he's just so absurd as and dangerous. Like it's a very specific combination. But like at one point, after he has gone through some stuff, when the camera sort of gets in close on his face, did you guys notice how suddenly he's got these lines, and like the way that either they were shooting it with the light or just like maybe it's good makeup, I'm not really sure, but like for about 45 seconds where we're thinking maybe he's actually going to change, he suddenly looks like 15 years older. Mm-hmm. And it's so wild, because that really does add to the like possible sort of like wisdom he may have accrued unwillingly through these experiences. And then as soon as he gets his chance to be free, He is in it for himself only, and he's back to looking his normal Justin Long age. It was such a neat little trick of the camera, and I just like, I guess because I had the sound off, I was able to really focus on that.
The other thing I was thinking about too, that conversation about just a man being able to walk through life and what it's like for him. I thought one of the other really great distinctions between men and women in this movie too was that when he does find her, but does find Tess, and she has figured out how to live. She's got to
automatically.
Yeah. She's do that. This, like, she has, instead of like fighting out, like, she has worked out a system. She doesn't know how she's going to get out, but she knows that she's got some kind of a way to work with this. I'll work with this. It's very adaptable.
I like to think that she had several plans that if things didn't happen that allow her to escape, that she would have, she was already working out scenarios.
Yeah, exactly.
She's on it. She's a very, very savvy, like final girl.
I thought that was very impressive. I like that writing too.
Well, and I like that she automatically understands that this, she's looking for a baby. Take the bottle, like, drink it. Like, she knows it seems very quickly. We don't know how long she's been down there. And I mean, she did watch her bash the guy's head in. But like, she knows, I mean, I think it's quite telling if you watch someone bash someone's head in and then they just want to sort of tenderly care for you and put you in a small trap, you're probably okay. And they just want to come feed you every once in a while. She's smart. She knows what's up.
Yeah.
She knows how to like have this person, and she can accept like what she is shown in that moment. It's just that this creature is going to extend to her like some humanity, even in a very like kidnappy, awful space.
Yeah, in a kind of like of Mice and Men, George, like.
Yeah. But like a George who has been like horrifically traumatized.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. God.
She might have the mother as that character also might have, like, she only kills men who are yelling. I think that she might be, because of her own like traumatic experiences, being a little more empathetic to women who are trapped in the basement, even if she's trapped them there.
Yeah, I find it fascinating that she comes out at night, and like, I mean, I guess she must be getting stuff to keep Frank alive, like, and but like, and I mean, she is sort of like the monster's child and sort of captive in her own way, even though she's the one who can leave the house now and stuff like that, and like, but she, there's not a lot of hope for her out in the world. Tess is maybe like the most hope that she has ever had. And she, it's, I don't, is her character called Mother? Is that what?
They call her the Mother.
Okay.
Is the sort of unnamed.
Okay. Because that makes me happy. Because I was just like, I really felt for the mother.
I agree with what you were saying earlier. Like, it is, I mean, for a movie that has such crazy tonal shifts in it, it is a remarkably tender moment where she's trying to comfort her baby. Like, I had a similar, and it was more this last time that I watched it that it really struck me, just like how frightened she is that Tess is hurt, and how, even though her first instinct is to take her back to the house, even though that that's the only world that she knows, like that sort of stuff. It's got a lot of really smart, like, weird emotional choices in it.
So, do we think this movie pops?
Yes, big pops.
Huge.
Absolutely. Really held up. I've seen that 3 times now, that movie, and it really, yeah.
Yeah. I think it pops if you enjoy the genre of horror. Mm-hmm. If you don't like horror at all, it's, I don't know. I was the equivalent of like going up to the Airbnb door and being like, oh, it's double booked. Okay, bye. That's what I would have stopped the movie as well, just to not have to see all of that gory violence. But there you go.
But like considering all there was one review, I just closed the window so I don't have it open now, but like one review from Slate was talking about how the movie like lets subtext stay subtext, but it still addresses like racism, urban renewal, toxic masculinity, Reagan era paranoia, and its ramifications in the present day. Like Sam Adams writes about that for the Slate review, and it's like, and it's true. It's so smart, and all of that is there, but it's not. It's just there for you to experience and understand, even if it's not directly addressed.
It's a real show don't tell thing.
It is. It's so good as show don't tell. Man, if I was a teacher, I'd be getting a lot of complaints from parents after showing this film to their children. We love to leave our episodes on other things we recommend. Dawn, as our treasured guest, would you like to go first?
Sure, thanks. I am really into both the book and the television adaptation. The book, The Changeling by Victor Laval. I'm like halfway through reading that again. And there's a television adaptation on Apple TV with Lakeith Stanfield and Clark Bacco, I think is her name, who's sort of the other lead. It's another like sort of creepy, sort of like literary horror thing. They're both great.
Excellent. Thank you so much. That's a great recommendation. I love Lakeith Stanfield. Lisa, would you like to go next?
Sure. Yeah. So I watched all of the David Beckham show on Netflix, all 4 parts. What do you mean, of course? Why would that be I'm not a big sports fan.
No, but you're a big, like, you're into celebrity biopics.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, so it was, I have to say, like, just like your recommendation for people who, pops for people who like horror. This is a real sports story, as it turns out. It was very little about all the stuff I was waiting for. Yes, Victoria is a big part of it, Victoria Beckham, or Adams, as she was known when she was in the Spice Girls and they met. And she's there. But mostly this is just his soccer career. So I got in it. I just kept going. It was the long weekend. But I'm just putting this out to everybody. If you are thinking about watching it, it's really a sports documentary.
So that is with a recommendation and a warning.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Honestly,
yeah.
You took one for the team. I appreciate it.
If I may, I'm not a sports guy, but I also watched that documentary, and I've watched maybe like 3 soccer games in my entire life. And I enjoyed it. Like the movie kind of like shows you why you should care, even if you don't care about soccer. Like it, I dug that too.
But I thought there would be a little bit more of the, of the fun with Posh, but it was very little. It was just more her going, and then we moved again, and then he cheated, and then we moved again, and yeah.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, they've really lasted, I gotta say.
25 years, yeah.
Given that we found out recently that Jada and Will have been separated since like 2016, privately.
I know.
Posh and Bex are going strong.
Good friends of theirs too, weren't they?
Yeah, at one point.
Yeah, at one point, yeah.
There's not many of those double celebrity couples from the 90s still
hanging
standing.
On. Yeah, no, but it's great. They gave it a shot. Thrilled for them. AG, how about you?
Well, so last week I recommended this show called I Have Nothing. And there's a comedian on there as part of the show, Mae Martin.
Yes.
And so I became like really interested in looking at their other work because they are so good on the show, so funny. And they have something on Netflix called Feel Good. And it's British comedy drama. And it's a semi-autobiographical rom-com, basically, about May. And it's like a fictionalized version of their life. And their girlfriend, who's played by Charlotte Ritchie. And it's funny. It's touching. It's a great little... it's a funny drama if you need something. I thought we needed a tone shift from this Barbarian stuff. So. It's like a palate cleanser.
Mae Martin is also quite good in The Flight Attendant.
Yes.
I don't remember.
Mae
That's Mae Martin in the. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! I also just started listening to their new podcast with Tig Notaro and Fortune.
Handsome. Yeah.
Feinster.
Yeah.
It's called Handsome. Right?
Yeah. Very good. Very fun.
They're also really good in there's a British like sort of comedy game show called Taskmaster.
Oh my God, they're so funny in that.
And they're in the 15th season. All of them you can watch on YouTube. They just upload like whole seasons of them, and they're in season 15.
Wow. Okay.
Are great. Really good in that.
Yeah. This is very exciting. I am going to first recommend. I'm only recommending one thing, but then I have a shout out after. I saw the Indigo Girls documentary. It's called It's Only Life After All. And it's so good. It's just like, it's very like heartwarming and inspiring, but it's also very real. And they really open up about some stuff I don't think they've really opened up about before. And they talk a lot about their friendship and their like long collaboration, and just the idea always that people have always been like, you're both gay, you must be a couple, and like how they just could never be a couple, but they do really love each other so much. And once you see this documentary, you fully understand how they could never be a couple, but how they really do love each other so much. And it's really beautiful. It's really wonderful. And I cannot recommend it enough. So it's called It's Only Life After All, and it's great. And after I came out of that documentary, I was just standing outside on the street, and this wonderful person said, "Oh, hey, I really love your podcast." And they were like, "I look like a fool when I'm laughing and listening to it on the SkyTrain every morning." And I was like, "Oh, that's so nice." Anyway, so Sarah, thanks for saying hello. Thanks for introducing yourself. Thanks for letting me be all like, "Hi, I'm Andrea." And she's all, well, I don't know Sarah's pronouns. I'm so sorry. But they're all like, yeah, no, I know you're Andrea. Then turning to Carlos and being like, "And you must be Carlos." Can you imagine if I'd been the person who
That's
wasn't Carlos?
fantastic. Yeah.
I know. Anyway, Sarah, it was so nice to meet you. Thank you for saying hello. You're a real delight, and thank you for listening. It's it really makes me happy that we make you laugh. And
thanks, Sarah.
I hope that actually you even hear this, because I didn't think about it. Like, maybe you've never seen Barbarian, and you're not going to listen to this episode until you one day see it. And oh, Sarah, sorry about this. Anyway, one day you'll hear this. Shout out to you, or maybe someone will tell you about it. Anyway. Dawn, thank you so much for being such a wonderful guest, and I really appreciate it. Do you want people to come find you on the internet? Do you want people to come find you and come say hello to you?
If people find me on the internet, then all that time spent in witness protection has been wasted.
I don't think you're good at witness protection. You stayed at one job for like 25 years and have just been on this podcast like 4 times. You're not doing it right, man.
I am still on the Twitter. I am Imaginary Cigarettes there, although I am very rarely there. I've got to find a way to be more online. But thank you very much for having me. This was great.
It was a delight. I don't think you actually have to be more online if you don't want to be.
No.
I think you're doing smart work for yourself.
Just skulk online. That's what I do.
Yeah, I'm all about touching grass now. There's no online for me.
You love to lick grass too. Just touch it, lick it.
That's absolutely correct.
Thank you everyone for listening. You can hang out with us on social medias. If you're still online, you can hang out with us. Sometimes we show up. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, etc. You could rate and review us. 5 stars.
5 stars is always the best. And thanks to Andrea Gin, our co-host and producer here. And thanks for watching horror movies. I mean, I know I put this one out there, so I appreciate this episode very much.
I can't unsee any.
No, you can't.
Haunt me for a long time. Thanks, Lisa.
Yeah, no problem.
That's value. That's value for money.
Yeah, the repeating flashes. It's like how acid trips come back to you. You're just always in this movie, AG. Sorry.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.